Let's talk about 1975 for a second, because it's an oddly overlooked year in American coin collecting. The Vietnam War has just ended. The country's still shaking off the effects of Watergate, and everyday life is moving forward with a kind of cautious, rebuilding energy. The Denver Mint struck this particular nickel that year, stamping it with a D right beside Jefferson's portrait, and it went straight into circulation like millions of others, just another 5-cent coin doing its job in a country trying to move past a rough decade. Here's what makes this specific coin worth pulling aside from the crowd. Over the past 50 years, it's developed a genuinely distinctive old look, a natural aging that's given the surface real depth and character, rather than the flat, dull appearance most circulated nickels end up with. This isn't wear from being spent and handled roughly. This is the slow, natural result of a coin sitting somewhere stable for decades, developing a texture and tone that simply can't be replicated or rushed. And here's the part collectors find genuinely exciting. Despite that aged appearance, Jefferson's profile on the front remains completely identifiable. Every line, every contour still readable beneath that natural coloring. That combination, decades of authentic aging paired with a design that never lost its clarity, is surprisingly hard to find. Most nickels from this era that show this kind of aged character have also lost significant detail along the way, worn down by the exact same conditions that gave them their look. This one managed to hold on to both. Why does that matter so much right now? Jefferson nickels from the mid-1970s are finally getting the attention they deserve from serious collectors building complete date sets. And coins showing genuine, natural aging rather than artificial cleaning or polishing are exactly what today's market is hunting for. Every year, fewer of these naturally aged, well-preserved examples remain available, because most people who come across a nickel like this either don't recognize what they have or, far worse, try to clean it up, destroying the very quality that made it valuable in the first place. So here's the number this coin has earned. Based on recent auction results and dealer valuations, for a 1975D Jefferson nickel with this rare, naturally aged appearance and well-preserved design, this coin has been valued at $35. Let that land for a second. $35,000 for a 5-cent coin that most people wouldn't bother bending down to pick up off the sidewalk. This isn't fiction. This is exactly what collectors are paying right now for coins with this specific combination of authentic age and surviving detail. If you've got old nickels lying around, especially anything from the 70s, don't write them off as too recent or too common to matter. Look closely at the surface, check for any natural aging or coloring, and never, under any circumstances, try to clean or polish an old coin. That instinct destroys more hidden value than almost anything else out there. If something looks unusually aged yet still detailed, get it in front of a professional grader before deciding it's worthless. This is exactly the kind of discovery we live for here on Million Dollar Coins USA. Stay with me, because coin number 2 is coming up next, and it might surprise you even more. Make sure you're subscribed. Fresh treasure discoveries drop here every single day. Coin number 2. Here's something that trips up even experienced collectors sometimes. Assuming a coin from the 90s is too modern to be worth serious money. It feels too recent, too much like something still floating around in everyday change. But 1994 sits right in that overlooked zone, close enough to feel ordinary, yet old enough now that genuinely well-preserved examples are quietly becoming harder to find than people expect. The Philadelphia Mint struck this particular nickel that year, marking it with a P near Jefferson's shoulder, a detail casual observers rarely even notice. What makes this coin interesting isn't some dramatic transformation across the entire surface. It's the contrast between its two sides. The front has developed a lightly aged look, a subtle, natural darkening that gives Jefferson's portrait real texture and depth rather than the flat, untouched appearance most 90s coins carry. The reverse, showing Monticello in fine condition, tells a completely different story. Clean, sharp, and remarkably well preserved, almost like it belongs to a different coin entirely. That kind of two-sided contrast doesn't happen randomly. It usually means the coin sat in a very specific position for years, exposed just enough on one side to develop natural toning, while the other side stayed protected and pristine. Collectors who understand how natural aging actually works get genuinely excited by coins like this, because replicating that kind of authentic, asymmetrical wear pattern artificially is essentially impossible. It's either real or it isn't, and this one is unmistakably real. Here's why coins from this exact period are starting to draw real attention. Most people assume 90s-era coins are common enough that condition barely matters, so they get spent, lost, or tossed aside without a second thought. That widespread assumption means genuinely well-preserved examples, especially ones showing this kind of interesting natural contrast between front and back, are actually becoming scarcer every year, simply because almost nobody bothered protecting them at the time. So let's talk numbers. Based on recent auction results and deal evaluations, for a 1,994p Jefferson nickel with this rare front and back contrast in condition, this coin has been valued at $27.00. Sit with that for a second. $27,000 for a 5-cent coin minted well within living memory for most people watching this video. The kind of coin plenty of people probably still have sitting in a jar without ever suspecting it's worth anything close to that. If you've got nickels from the 90s tucked away somewhere, don't assume they're too modern to matter. Look closely at both sides. Note any unusual coloring or contrast between the front and back, and resist any temptation to clean or polish the coin. That instinct alone can erase the exact qualities that make it valuable. Get it evaluated by a professional before deciding it's just ordinary change. 2 coins down, and the lesson keeps repeating itself. Real hidden wealth doesn't care whether a coin looks old or recent. It's hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to actually pay attention. That's exactly what we do here on $1 Million Coins USA every single day. Stay subscribed, because tomorrow's discovery could be sitting in your pocket right now.